Used to Sew, a podcast about sewing machines, sewing history, and sewing culture in the past and present. I am your producer and co-host Aradia, daughter of your main host, T.R. Kelly, who is here today to talk to you about Bernadette Banner. For those who don't know, Bernadette Banner is a YouTube channel personality devoted to costume analysis and fashion history, with a focus on hand sewing and fighting fast fashion. TR learned of her via a sewing machine threading mistake that she made and then defended, but I learned about her as a tangent from my Wheel of Time fandom, because she drafted a costume from that show, just from screenshots. This episode has a lot more of me in it than usual, because I have a lot to say about her creation of the Moiraine costume from Wheel of Time Season 1. Or rather, I have a lot to say about her channel and what I learned from it while watching her videos about said Wheel of Time costume. I came for the Kyrian and styling, but stayed for the seam felling. Nerds are weird. What can I say? After I get done waxing rhapsodic about fantasy textiles, we get into some more concrete stuff about Bernadette. Her recent book, her fast fashion breakdowns, and her creatively lukewarm approach to sewing machines. She might not be perfect, but she is doing something about fast fashion in ways that we here at Used to Sew admire. Our last section ranges rather farther afield into other TV and movie costuming decisions, revealing perhaps more about our taste in visual media than any deep secrets of costuming. But why not? I didn't have to leave those tangents in, but I think it is fun to feel like you know your co-hosts beyond just the narrow focus of any given show's purpose. If you're just here for sewing nerdery, that section might not be your speed, and that's perfectly okay. But if you listen all the way through to the end, I'll tell you where the phrase, "take it with a grain of salt," comes from. So, skip with care.
Talking about how much fun we're having with this and how much fun some of you guys are having with this stuff too, because our inboxes are flooded with fan mail and we can barely keep up.
Bit of an exaggeration, but we do feel the love, and that is very nice.
We do feel the love, and we do. Thank you guys for listening. To be able to just yammer about a special interest and have other people flap and jump up and down and go, yes, 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 it's so beautiful. Welcome to Used to Sew. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in Western Oregon. It's upper 70s and sunny. Is that what you got over on your side of the mountain, Raid?
Oh, yes. It is lovely, perfect early June weather.
So, yeah, we're not in the same room right now, but we are in the same watershed. Actually, no, I'm in a different watershed. Well, anyway.
Adjacent watersheds.
Back on Western Oregon time and ready to talk about sewing machines, sewing culture, sewing people, everything having to do with pointy, sharp things. I want to start out with a correction from last week's episode on the Elna and Neki. A sharp-eyed, sharp-eared listener caught me when I said there's no down pressure adjustment on the Elna Supermatic.
Oh,
wrong. I went back and looked at my Supermatic, and you're right. There is a pressure knob on the top with plus and minus. But in my mind's eye, when I was yammering about the machine, I didn't see that part. So thank you, John Smith on Unnamed Sewing Forum, for correcting me on that.
We love corrections. We do. We truly do. We would rather be correct than be right, if that makes sense.
I'm just here to facilitate the conversation. And I know a lot of stuff, but I certainly don't know a lot of stuff. See what I'm saying? The more I get involved in the vintage sewing machine world, the more I realize I don't know shit. There are people out there who are just brilliant. I mean, the Eddie Van Halen of sewing machine mechanics, or, fill in your thing there, the Dale Earnhardt of sewing machine mechanics, the Bernadette Banner.
Yes.
Of sewing machine mechanics. We are going to talk about somebody I just recently learned about, and you've known about for a while, although you didn't know you knew about her. Bernadette Banner. Now, I'm going to just tell you how I found her. I found her accidentally on one of my vintage sewing machine forums, and people were ragging on her because she wasn't threading a vintage machine correctly and would not be corrected on it, said this was a perfectly was alternate threading or something. And the person said, and then all of her fangirls just jumped in. And I went, wait a minute. A sewing machine person has fangirls? Well, she's not even a sewing machine person. I looked up Bernadette Banner. She's a vintage costume, dress, historian, reenactor, designer, all kinds of wonderful stuff. And her focus is more on the clothing and the design, but she does have a few old machines. And I watched a few of her videos. And yeah, she's not really a machine person. She knows a little bit about them and more about how to make them do sewing-y things than any of the history or whatever. But I've just now have started watching her videos and getting into her world, which is quite dramatic and complicated on many levels. But Radia, tell me and our listeners how you know of Bernadette Banner.
Okay. So, yeah, first of all, her channel is amazing. I had not actually watched any of her stuff. I just knew about her. But for this episode, I did a little homework and I watched her channel, and I can see why she has fangirls. It is a really well put together channel, or at least the videos that I watched. Just the editing, very engaging. The music, fantastic. The pace of the storytelling. Like, I am not surprised she has fans. But the way I know about her is that she did 3 videos 3 years ago and then 1 video more recently about costuming for the Wheel of Time TV show that was on Amazon Prime.
Ooh, for the TV show. Okay.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, there's these books that start out like a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, and then very quickly you are not in Kansas anymore. 14 books later, you're a raving fan and you have a podcast. That's the long and the short of it. In the first book, and for many, many of the books, there is who we colloquially call Lady Gandalf. That's all you need to know. She's Lady Gandalf. There's a whole lot of lore and backstory, and everyone who knows the books is like, how dare you? But like, for people who don't know Wheel of Time, imagine Gandalf, but it's a woman, and she has Aragorn as a bodyguard, and her entire theme is the color blue. That's all you need to know. Gandalf the Blue, and Aragorn is her magically bound bodyguard.
Okay.
She has impeccable fashion sense in the show. Well, because the show is beautiful. The show is visually gorgeous. They really leaned into the thing where, there's magic women, right? There's magic women wizards. And they have 7 different divisions that are dictated by color. And in the books, they don't really wear the color all the time. It's just what their like official color is. But in the show, they decided to lean really hard into that visual distinction, and they just dressed the women in head to toe, whatever their color is. Just head to toe. We've got red, green, brown, yellow, gray, white, and blue. And then, of course, the evil people have black. And so as soon as they start to show their true colors, their costume starts to incorporate black, edging whatever the other color is. Like, it's a whole visual language that the show uses. But
I like that.
The costume designs for the show have been really innovative and really exciting and really interesting. And Robert Jordan, the author of the books, had this thing where he took the whole real world and put it in a bag and shook it and then pulled things out. And that was how he made his fantasy world. So he has really strange combinations of things, right? So he's got your classic Dune-inspired Bedouin ninja people, but they're all blonde-haired, blue-eyed, easily sunburned people. Just because he thought it would be funny. And like, for example, and so this character, Lady Gandalf, Moiraine, that's her actual name is Moiraine.
Okay.
Her culture in the books is very much a fusion of French and Chinese.
Ooh.
It's like very like you've got very French attitudes towards things, but then like very Chinese lines, right? In terms of like lots of squares and delicate tea ceremonies. It's a whole thing. It's complicated. So the costuming in the show sort of reflects that. There's these like very interesting, familiar but not familiar kinds of lines in it. And the Chinese French thing isn't really relevant super much. It's just really elegant. It's just really, really elegant. So when Moiraine enters the show, she is one of the very first things you see episode 1. She's wearing this amazing coat. And then the whole first season, there's a big chunk of her being in the Vatican, so to speak, of the magic world. Okay. She's being questioned by the magic pope. And she's wearing this just amazing blue dress. Just this fantastic blue dress. It's got these flared sleeves and this leather bolo jacket thing that looks like armor and these hip pads that just are absolutely entirely for show. They don't do anything other than just make her outline more dramatic, and it's a big sweeping skirt. And it's just amazing. So Bernadette Banner is a fan of the Wheel of Time show. And decided that she wanted to make the dress and then later make the jacket. So she made these 3 videos. They're about 20-something minutes apiece. I watched them all yesterday. And it is her going just from the screenshots, figuring out how to draft the dress and putting it together and showing off the finished result. It is amazing. And then 3 years later, very recently, she did the jacket that goes with it, like the traveling jacket. And the cool thing about that is that the dress she made entirely as a costume piece, but the jacket she actually adapted to be a real jacket that she plans to wear just in her regular life. And it's really, really cool. But I have notes. I have a whole page of notes on the videos because there was just so many cool details that I can talk about if we want to get into that.
Well, yeah, if it's related to, I mean, Don't tell us about their religious system, but tell us about their clothes and how they're made.
Okay, so the first thing is I just admire her workspace and her production space so much. Like, I need a dressmaker mold like her. I need all the scissors. Yes. I need the wrist pad with all the pit. Her channel made me want to be such a more serious sewer. She's so impressive.
Oh, that's good. Awesome.
It's just amazing. But so the first thing about this dress that's really, really funny. Invisible zippers are apparently canonical to this world. Because she's looking at the costume and she's looking at the back and she's like, there is no way to have that back closure except with an invisible zipper. And that feels anachronistic to the high fantasy period that we're looking at. But apparently invisible zippers are canonical. And the brain pretzel you can put yourself through for that is that this world is technically post-apocalyptic. It's not actually medieval fantasy. It's actually post-apocalyptic, post-utopia, degrading back into a more medieval society. Devolving. So you can sort of mind pretzel that maybe they somehow kept invisible zipper technology somehow.
Oh, okay. Do they have big lighters? I mean, what else do they have?
Yeah, it really doesn't work, but like whatever. So she has an invisible zipper on this dress.
Okay.
The bolo piece, I'm going to include a picture on our social media of this costume. Yeah. But so it's this like short shoulder jacket thing, and it looks like armor. There's like layers of leather and stuff. And Bernadette Banner, being an anti-fast fashion, conscientious consumer type person, goes through a lot of headache trying to figure out what material she wants to use, because she's like, I'm not making this to wear as a real practical outfit, so that doesn't justify using leather, but I also don't want to use pleather because ew. So she ends up going with this like felt fabric instead and just like completely abandoning the concept of a leather thing and just goes for something that looks texturally about right. And there's a whole digression where she talks with one of her other costuming fans on YouTube, or costuming friends on YouTube, who had also recreated the outfit with leather, and they go through a whole thing about how it's actually easier to make in fabric, and the end result looks really, really nice. Like it has the same kind of texture and stiffness, and she puts beautiful decorations on it. So, and she like also buys pineapple leather at one point experimentally, but it doesn't work at all. And like there's a whole saga with that, which is really, really cool.
Okay. I'll have to watch that.
But then here's the really trippy thing. So she, in the process of making the garment, decides to go deep diving into what Robert Jordan had said. Because Robert Jordan was a clothes guy. He didn't
Really?
understand how clothes worked, but he really liked pretty dresses.
He liked the visuals.
He puts a lot of page time into describing the different styles of the different cultures and nations that he has, for men and women.
The costumers are thanking him. Yes, that's cool.
He's really into the costuming, but he also was wildly unrealistic about how garments work in a lot of other ways because, men don't understand how clothes work as a whole.
No.
But he really liked pretty dresses. So he did actually specify that the technology of the world is, broadly speaking, about late 17th century minus gunpowder. Minus gunpowder is important in the world. They discover gunpowder as a plot point.
So no sewing machines.
Broadly speaking, late 17th century. So she actually puts the garment together by hand because that is period correct. She's not all the drafting and making test stuff, but like the actual garment itself. She does the whole thing by hand. And I learned a lot about sewing just from her talking about stuff.
Yes.
Like what English stitching is and what flatlining is. And I learned a lot about sewing, which was really cool. And then there's one section where she's doing the invisible zipper and she's like, I know this feels really weird to say I'm doing a period correct hand sewn invisible zipper. That's a weird sentence to be saying. So she does the whole section in the fantasy made up language from the books.
Oh my God.
Like that whole section where she's describing what she's doing, she just makes it even weirder by she clearly worked with someone, I think I might know who, to translate the instructions into the old tongue and then say it. It's just the funniest nerd shit ever.
This is peak,
so funny.
peak nerdery on many levels. I mean...
Well, and then here's another piece of nerdery. So I'm listening along and a lot of the music is just stunning. The music's amazing. And I know it's not music from the show because I know the show's music, but it keeps feeling like it's almost music from the show. And then in the third video, suddenly I do recognize music from the show, but it's also being sung in the old tongue that it isn't in the show because there's actually a song that's given to you as not just soundtrack, like the characters sing a song at one point.
Right.
And it's that song,
they have their own.
But it's translated out of the English that it was originally sung in by this other YouTube channel called Hildegard von Blingen, who does bardcore. Is the entire point of that channel is bardcore.
Oh my God!
Which, if you have not heard bardcore, imagine Green Day in Elizabethan England. That's bardcore. It's amazing.
So this is kind of like bardcore is an outgrowth of filk.
Yeah.
Look that up.
Yeah, totally. So Hildegard von Blingen collaborates to do an old tongue version of Weep for Manetheren for the final costume reveal. It was just the music for the whole thing. Again, I can see why she has fans. This channel is really well constructed.
I've got to watch these because I have not. Most of what I know about her is just a few snips of videos and a lot of reading.
Oh, yeah. You should definitely watch the Moiraine dress series. I'll put the links in the show notes for this episode.
Sure. I'm sure some of our listeners are like, what? I want to see this.
No, it's really cool. Okay, so the dress took her 70 hours to put together. Or 70 plus hours. I forget exactly how many she said. But she was just for a dressmaker in the world, how long would this have taken to sew? About 70 hours, 70-something hours.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
Yeah.
And I'm watching her. She is so precise. Her stitches are so freaking precise. I'm like, I think of myself as a precise, focused person, but I don't think I could ever. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I learned about this thing called turned and felling seam allowance, which looks super cool. I'd never heard of that, but just watching her do it, I'm like, oh, that's a cool technique. She's just casually dropping all this sewing nerd lore in the same time. And I'm taking notes well, I want to learn how to do that. That seems really helpful.
She sucked you in with Wheel of Time and now you're learning felling.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you come for the one nerd shit, stay for the other nerd shit.
Yeah, I love it.
Other things that were interesting about this, it's a 3-paneled sleeve. She goes through this whole long process of figuring out how many panels are on the sleeves to make them flare right. It's a whole saga. I didn't know you could have 3-paneled sleeves, but apparently that's a thing. Or 4 panels. She goes through a 4-panel tangent trying to figure it out. Because again, she doesn't have the drafting for this. She hasn't gone deep into the behind the scenes bits and pieces of what the costume department has shared because she was making these when the first season had come out. So a lot of the behind the scenes hadn't come out yet. So she's literally screenshotting the show on her laptop and trying to like reverse engineer how the costume was put together.
Yes.
And there's like this whole thing with the shoulders being super, super fitted. And like she said that's like why she gets into the project in the first place, is because there's these really unique shoulder fitting pieces that, again, she's just figuring out from screenshots. And then these hip flare things, like she goes on this whole saga with these little hip roll flare things, like trying out different materials and talking about why different experiments didn't work. Again, just really like, oh, this is the troubleshooting process. This is how things work before they're finished and engineered and sold to you in a neat package, right? This is the under the hood part of all that. It was just so fascinating. I also learned about cartridge pleating, which I thought was very cool.
Yes, cartridge pleating's cool. I learned that when I was working in the costume shop doing Civil War reenactment dresses. We would use cartridge pleating for sleeve heads and skirts. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, just fascinating. And her talking about like trying to look at the way the fabric flows as the character moves in it, and then trying to figure out the right weight of fabric to buy or the right weight of fabric to line it with. And just like that whole troubleshooting, weighing of different options. And then she gets to the coat, which is like a month ago, I think is when that video came out, or I don't actually know. But like, she's like, okay, 3 years ago I did the dress. Now I want to do the coat. And the coat, she actually customizes a lot more because she's like, I want to wear this. I actually think this is a very practical coat because basically it has a scarf attached to it. It's like the coat goes down to like roughly the knees and it has pockets. And then there's this like scarf thing that's attached and can be pulled up as a hood or pulled down as a scarf. And so she like customizes it to herself. Like she makes the whole muslin and then it's like, oh, I don't like this part. I don't like that part. I don't want it to be correct to the show. I want it to be correct to what I want out of it based on seeing it in the show and just seeing that. Because the one she does as true to the show as she can because that's the point. And then the other she does what she wants out of it based on the show. And it's just such an interesting contrast of projects. And and then she has really lovely reveals at the end where she's like walking around all dramatic with slow-mo and little special effects to make it look like she's doing magic and, being like, oh my God, she did it. She actually made Moraine's outfit. She looks like it was just so cool. It was just I'm so glad you turned me on to her because now I want to learn so much more about drafting and making clothes. And I just, and Wheel of Time fan. She's a freaking Wheel of Time fan. So cool. So cool.
And she's actually younger than you.
I believe it. I believe it.
I want to talk about another aspect of her. She's got a book out.
Yes, she was plugging that in the Moiraine thing. She's like, I just made a book. Like, so yeah, that's about 3 years old.
Yeah. And I've been traveling a lot doing real estate and stuff. And I have not managed to get this book yet, but I'm going to. It's about make, mend, and sew. Like you said, she's very anti-fast fashion. And she wants you to fix your stuff because she goes along and tells about how you were saying about all the layers of clothes. And she has a great video also about how to spot what makes fast fashion different construction-wise. And she goes through this amazing video about here's what clothes used to look like. All the understructure and linings and interfacings and layers to get the look that you want. A jacket will actually still look like a human body when you take it off the body from like 1930 because of tailoring techniques. Now a jacket flops into a pile of mixed fabric serged junk when you take it off, right? It's not the same thing at all. And she was really emphasizing that when clothes were handmade and a lot of work went into them, as you've been saying, with her hand stitching, because she focuses on a time before electric sewing machines and mostly hand stitching. And so you've put all this time into this garment. You're not just going to, it's not in style anymore, chuck it out. And she goes on quite a bit about how the interior of garments would be messy as hell because of all the alterations and things that have been done over the years to make the outside look good, to make it fit the person. You just didn't get rid of something. So not only on her costuming level, but on her just the mechanics of how clothes are made, what fabric, what stitching techniques. I want to get this book, and then I want to do a whole nother episode on her. But having just found her by accident because people were ranking on her lack of machine knowledge, and now we've got all this cool information about her. Not everybody, like somebody said, what do you mean the thing doesn't have a down pressure? Yes, it does. Okay, I admit, I hosed. Apparently, someone pointed out her mistake and she didn't take it well, and that's okay. Not everybody can be perfect, but I'm thinking that this is a person that I want to check out because she's embodying so much of what we're about here at Used to Sew, which is not just sewing machines, but the part about combating fast fashion and really thinking about your clothes. Your clothes are your vocabulary. When you go out, she made this coat. Okay, this is for the character, but I really like this for myself. I'm going to make one that I can just wear. That is so cool. That's kind of what you and I like to do. I look at something. It's like, remember when you were a little kid and you're like, Mommy, I want a costume from this movie. So I would have to look at the screen.
It's literally the same thing. Yeah.
What's the essence of this costume? So like Grandma bought you the little red shoes to be Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, but I had to make the rest. But so I looked at that little dress, a little blue gingham dress, but what are the details? Well, the details are it's cut cross grain on the straps and the upper bodice. Make it look just like it did. So what Bernadette's doing is like far beyond, but that's what costumers do is you look at something. This is what it starts off with a rendering, which is a drawing of the character, what they look like. And then the costumer has to figure out, what drape of the fabric, what stitching techniques, what underlinings, what grain is it going to be cut on? Is this, a bias cut thing? Does it need to swirl? This is such a different world than buying cheap clothes off Shane. Right? But I really, really respect what she's doing, and I am not going to nitpick at her if she gets her sewing machine history wrong. She's got a Wilcox and Gibbs chain stitch machine that I watched the first 10 minutes of the video, and there were so many mistakes in what she was saying that it just frustrated me, but that's okay. The fact that she had the thing, she's showing us what to do with it. That's the important part. What's the positive? Don't pick, like the quilt police. They're going to look at your quilt and they're going to say, your points don't match. But they're not going to say, your binding's awesome. What an excellent choice of colors. I've never seen this pattern executed this way. Right? So I want to pick out the good things that I'm learning from this person and let other people do the nitpicky stuff. Because it's just, my grandma used to say, if you can't say something nice, if we can't say something nice, Jesus Christ, Tracy Ray, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah, there's a fine line between giving someone necessary correction and being annoying.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no line at all. It's just impossible.
Bernadette's cool. Bernadette's freaking cool. Again, we had an episode, right, about no perfection. Mm-hmm. We need to apply that to our dealings and our judgments about our other human beings. For somebody who's anywhere near what we're doing, I'm like, yes, I love you.
Yeah. Perfectionism serves nobody.
Yeah, you're doing a thing.
It's more fun to celebrate the fact that we all have a shared fandom, nerddom, hobby.
Yeah.
That's more exciting. And we can trade knowledge and tips and stuff, and maybe we'll learn something and learn we were wrong, or maybe we won't. Whatever. That's not the point.
Yeah, or back to my other alter ego life as a musician, there's some people that just get so pissy jealous about their fellow musicians because of capitalism and scarcity mentality and fame and emotional trauma and all that, instead of just supporting each other, knowing that music's the really only thing that ever changes anybody's mind is art. That one song goes viral, right? So what Bernadette's doing is if she's got fangirls, we're talking the Taylor Swift of textiles here. Think of the impact. Think of all the young women she is empowering, and I'm saying women in a broad sense here, to take control of their clothes. How do you want to look? You want it to fit you. You want it to be you. You don't want mass-produced factory junk. Oh, I just love her takedown video of fast fashion versus real clothes. As soon as I get the book, I'm going to do a recap episode on that, because I'm going to put her right up there with somebody who's not just railing against fast fashion, but who is doing something about it. She's blazing a path. And how much of it you want to follow is, whatever. Sew on a button. Make a full fantasy costume. Whatever it is. But the fact that she's out there putting a lot of time and effort into these videos and she has fangirls, I'm just really, really excited about that. That's cool. And I'm going to watch more of her stuff for sure.
Yeah, I really want to get her book as well. I definitely want to watch more of her videos. And yeah, it definitely is. It's good to know that you're not the only one doing a thing. It's nice to know that you are a part of a community. Even if you're just parasocially peeking in, there's still a lessening of loneliness. And it's like, no, I can do this. Like other people are doing this. I can do this.
Yeah. And bravo for her for putting herself out there, because there are going to be the metaphorical quilt police. No matter what your hobby or your interest is, somebody's going to pick at something you're doing wrong.
Literally, it's so true.
Be willing to learn. Be willing to learn, but also don't be upset when people pick at stuff. That says more about, just take it with the literal grain of salt, right? I don't even know what that means, really. But
I don't know.
If somebody's criticizing something you do, if somebody criticizes something you do, that says a lot about them, not about you, right? So who feels the need to criticize somebody's thing? Your points don't match. I hate that color. Wow, what a little shit you are. Sometimes if you just come right back at somebody and tell them what a dick they're being, you shut them up. But Bernadette wouldn't do that, because she really embodies that whole Edwardian kind of vibe.
Yeah, no, I was hopped on her channel, and one of the first things she's got is starting up a fake OnlyFans, except it's actually a real OnlyFans for Victorian ankles.
Oh, I know. That is so funny. I love that.
Amazing.
I love that.
But yeah, no, this is the thing about being a content creator, especially on YouTube. I think it's less true for podcasters, at least podcasters that don't get very big. I don't know how it is when you're like a real big podcast, but I know on YouTube, it just, you're not supposed to read the comment section. You just
no.
I've seen some content creators say that they have a good comment section, but I'm guessing that they have a solid community of like people making it happen. But like broadly speaking, if you put your shit out on the line, people are going to criticize, especially if you're a woman showing her face and having opinions on the internet.
Yeah.
People are going to be ridiculous. So
or if you're old or fat or
there's a certain amount of just needing to be like, no, you need to have more social capital with me than making a comment before I'm going to notice you.
Yeah. Those who criticize are ones who are afraid to do, right?
And the evidence on her channel is that her sewing machines are working just fine for what she's using them for.
Oh, somebody was screaming like, can't she hear that needs to be oiled? And it's like, well, okay, maybe it does, but does that invalidate the whole video?
Yeah. Like she uses a sewing machine like a glorified needle and thread. Like her videos are about drafting and about picking materials and picking stitches. At least the videos I watched was like really like the sewing machine was so off in the background. Like that's clearly not where her passion lies.
No. And the fact that she's even trying to incorporate sewing machines at all into her obviously huge hand sewing and all those other skills. So being, it's like, okay, I'm a professional musician. I'm really super good at this and that and the other thing. And now I'm going to learn how to ride motorcycles or no. Okay, I'm a musician, but now I'm going to learn how to actually build a guitar. Okay,
right. Yeah, totally.
Right. So she's branching out. It's like, okay, so sewing machines were a big deal, and she's sticking to non-electric. I think she's got a long shuttle Singer and a Wilcox and Gibbs treadle, but I'll have to look at that a little more.
Yeah, I saw the Singer with the beautiful swoopy bed. That was the one she used.
It's the hand crank. She got
it's a treadle.
Hand crank
it's a treadle.
Okay. So she's probably getting more. She might be getting more into this.
It's a big room she's working in, clearly. So there's room for machines.
And there's room for learning, and she'll learn. She'll learn. I mean, she might make mistakes early on here that the quote police are picking at her, the machine police. But hey, she's up there doing them. She's demonstrating what we're all about. So 10 out of 10, we'll watch more Bernadette Banner videos. Is she still involved? I mean, I heard that show got canceled. Is that true?
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but yes, the show has been canceled after 3 seasons because we can't have nice things in the age of streaming.
No, but we do get repeats, unlike The Wizard of Oz, which only came on once a year when I was a kid.
This is true.
TV.
This is true. We can
Right?
watch the 3 seasons we've got on endless repeat all year long. This is true.
I just want to make one tiny more TV show costume thing, not TV show, whatever. Handmaid's Tale. Okay, put aside all the politics and the meanings of it. The use of color and the costuming and the lighting in that series is just fantabulous. The way they use the colors to denote the different levels of women, but also the cuts of the clothes and the types of fabrics that are used. I really like watching that show. Once I figured out what it was about and all that, okay, I don't want to watch all the heavy parts, but sometimes I go back and watch some of my favorite episodes that have lots of clothes in them with the sound off.
Yeah, totally. If you're there for the costumes, you don't need to hear all the mouth noise.
No, the lighting, the colors, the way they've chosen to dress the characters to represent what's happening is just so. My point there being that costuming is a really underappreciated part of a lot of shows. I mean, I worked as a stitcher for a very small theater company once in a while when they needed more people to do stuff. So I have a little idea of what goes into costuming, but on that level, man, it's art. It's beautiful. I love it.
Oh, man.
Makes me want to go like make a corset or something.
You want to talk about color and costume from much more modern context, the show Severance. I'm sure you've seen screenshots of it because it is
I don't know
incredibly visually striking show. And I actually read an essay about how they used like a limited color palette specifically to do storytelling. But it's the colors in the sets and the space and also on the people. Watching the costumes, because there's this whole very Matrix-like in versus out person. It's very trippy.
Okay.
And their use of color and costume is a big part of how they communicate that weirdness. Because it's a slow burn show, so like you can pick up a lot of plot if you're watching the costumes.
Okay.
It was just, you were talking about Handmaid's Tale, and I'm like, yeah, Severance kind of was, it's a very different thing because it's just an office show, but like with trippy stuff. But it really doesn't matter the genre of TV, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like costume should be part of how you're learning about the characters. And if you start looking at costumes, you do start picking up on stuff. The costume department exists for a reason. People always know what they're doing somewhere in the production.
Oh, yeah. Well, just think of your average person walking down the street. We all choose what costume we're going to wear outside because it is a costume. We wake up naked. We go, what's my social vocabulary today? What do I need to say? Am I going to the DMV? Am I going to lawyers? Am I going to go hang out and play disc golf with my friends? Am I going to countercultural music festival? Those are all different outfits, all different costumes. And so when you're telling a story on television or movies, yeah, costumes have to be, because we do that. We look at people's clothes, their hair. We slot them into what we think they're going to be because that was a survival skill in the wild. Are you going to eat me, or am I going to eat you, or can we be together and drink beer? You know. So what do your clothes say about you? All very fascinating shit.
It's a great quote from RuPaul of RuPaul's Drag Race. You're born naked. The rest is drag.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I mean, is there a more succinct way to say it? I don't think so.
Yeah. And, oh, man, we have so many more episodes to talk about clothes as, like, you know, just what we just touched on here, near and dear to our heart. What costume do we put out? What's our gender presentation, class presentation? Are we co-opting someone else's culture if we wear this thing, you know?
Are we specifically trying to dress as a character so that way we can inhabit that character instead of ourselves? Are we carrying a different character entirely and the costume is just a piece of that?
Yeah. When I put on my cowboy boots and my hat, I walk different. I talk different. The costume helps you be someone else. You know, the actors will even speak of this when the costume department gets it right. Famous story from Gone with the Wind, which was a very big costume movie as well. The director insisted that even the extras had the correct period underwear and things under their clothes. And one of the actresses said, but why? No one's going to see this. No one's going to know this is there. And the director said, but you will, and it will affect how you portray your character. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. No, there's a famous story from the Lord of the Rings movies that Aragorn refused to take his costume off when he went back to
I heard this.
And I guess the dude who played The Witcher more recently in the Netflix show The Witcher, same deal, because he grew up on the Lord of the Rings movies like everyone else, and everyone knows about dude breaking his toe in that one scene and wearing his costume for 3 weeks solid, and like nerd's gonna nerd, you know, and actors are nerds. They just play make believe really, really hard for the rest of us, you know?
Oh man, really, really hard. This weekend, again, in Portland, somebody ran up to me and was sure that I was Kathy Bates. I often bear a strong resemblance. I mean, I've had more people. I mean, it's just weird, but it's like, no, I really, really admire Kathy. She can, I mean, if you've never seen the Stephen King show Misery, that's where she won an Oscar, I think, for her portrayal of a mentally disturbed, terrifying woman. She does so good at it. But she's been in so many excellent movies. But when people come up to me and say I look like Kathy Bates, okay, well, I've got, you know, full lips and a round face and little bags under my little narrow eyes. But I could never be an actress. I just couldn't. You know, even if you put the right costume on me, I might walk the same, but I'll still break character and go out into my goofy laugh and start monologuing people about sewing machines.
I wanted to be an actor for so long. And then I was like,
yes,
nah,
you were.
It's too much work. It's too much work. I like having a piece of my life be performance art, but actually being a professional actor, nah.
I can't be anybody but me. So one of my actor friends said, but TR, you're such a character. You would be a great character actor because you have natural teeth.
Yeah, a character actor. There's a difference between an actor who can do anything and a character actor. It's two very important parts of the actor ecosystem.
So, you know, if somebody wants a cranky old redneck with natural teeth, call my agent.
You know, I bet you could do a great Kathy Bates character impression for Halloween. Like, go as one of her roles.
Tawanda.
I remember her mainly from Fried Green Tomatoes. That's the role I associate her with.
Fried Green Tomatoes. I love her. Yeah.
She was always my fan cast for a different character in Wheel of Time. There's this old motherly character who's of the book magic people who are specifically librarians and stuff, you know, the group I would associate with. And there's a main character from that group that I always fan cast in my head as Kathy Bates. And that's not who they picked. They picked Mira Sayal, who did a great job. She's got a lovely streak of gray running through her hair.
Ooh.
Really lovely actress. I really enjoyed her role. But Kathy Bates was always who I had mentally fan cast in the years before a show was ever announced. I was like, Kathy Bates is who would play Varen Mathwin. So,
you know, you hear we're way off track here, but I was going to throw in one more thing. You ever like, I would really like to see this person act with that person and they've never been in a movie together? Kathy Bates and Clancy Brown.
I knew you were going to say Clancy Brown. I knew you were going to say Clancy Brown.
I just
they would
see
have
them
amazing
as having
scenes together.
Amazing chemistry. I could just see that. But they're both old and fun now. But yeah, there was just, they've never been in a movie together. And they're two of my favorite.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity. Someone should get them on set together. That'd be great.
Yeah, they both have this weird smoldering intensity that's really cool.
Like if they each played the kingpin of two warring families. Something like that, where like they're like actually duking it out with each other, but like through an ensemble cast. That would be...
Wow. She played an owner of a weed store in some weird little miniseries thing. She was so cool in it. She can play anything. My God.
All right. We are off of costumes. We're off of everything.
Question. Does Kathy sew? Does Clancy sew? You just never know.
Which celebrities do we think have sewing as a hobby?
And who made the costume for the Kurgan in the original Highlander that Clancy Brown wore? Okay. Folks, thanks for hanging out with us while we blathered on about Bernadette and fast fashion and Kathy Bates and acting and costumes and all kinds of stuff that really is related to our podcast here. We don't just talk about sewing machines, but there are sewing machines in everything we talk about. I think that's a pretty good way. Keep your tension balanced, stay threaded, and make sure to unplug your machines when you're done sewing. Bye!
And there you have it. Two nerds nerding out over another nerd who was herself nerding out. Bernadette Banner might not know much about sewing machines, but she knows a ton about drafting a fantasy gown from screenshots and sewing it with period-correct methods. I gave you all a brief backdrop of what the Wheel of Time is so that I could explain the dress that Bernadette created, and of course there will be links to all 4 of her videos that I discussed in the show notes. I really hope that Mom and I do get, use, and review Bernadette's book. It sounds perfectly up our alley, if we can remember to get our ducks in a row. Should I just buy 2 now while I'm writing this? No, I spent way too much money yesterday. This can wait. Can it? Link to her book will also be in the show notes. Before we leave, I did promise you an explanation of where the phrase "take it with a grain of salt" comes from. So, here we go. According to Reader's Digest, the phrase was initially written down in a book by Pliny the Elder in about 77 CE as part of a poison prevention recipe. In that case, the idea was that the salt made the paste of walnuts, figs, and rue a little easier to swallow. The phrase "cum grano salis" then appears repeatedly in ancient texts until it is translated into English during the Renaissance. The first written instance of the phrase being used as an idiom was in 1647, but how it transitioned from literal recipe ingredient to idiom is not entirely clear. It was used a bit in the 17th century, but then dropped out of use until the late 19th for no particular reason that this article could cite. A different explanation can be found on Stack Exchange, where several alternative meanings for salt are proposed, such as intellectual acuteness, good sense, shrewdness, wit, which suggests that the phrase was always able to slide between the literal recipe and the idiomatic usage. It is also worth mentioning that in the United States, this phrase is usually grain of salt, but in the UK, it is often pinch of salt, though that doesn't do much to explain why salt is relevant to the information in the first place. It is interesting that the UK appears to have picked it up from the US during or after World War II, according to howstuffworks.com. So, my promise of an explanation is sort of unfulfilled, but not for a lack of effort on my part. In show notes, you will find 3 of the sources that I thought were the most helpful in answering this question as best I could. One last thing. As I said in the episode, I didn't intend to bring up the Wheel of Time show getting canceled as part of this episode, but it did come up. So I'm going to take a few more moments here to talk about it, because this really is close to my heart. Though the show was canceled, there is a fan effort to reverse that decision. We are writing letters and postcards, funding billboards, creating videos, all of that, hashtags, about how much we love the show and want to see it finished. If you have any interest in joining our efforts to push the entertainment industry to give us one nice thing in this hellscape of the era of streaming, visit savewhat.com. SAVEWOT.com. Visit savewhat.com for action items. I do not expect you to. You have your own hobbies and causes, but Any little bit helps with a group effort. There are so many real problems in the real world that we need to be seriously working on. This is by no means the most important one, but it is one of my most special of special interests. So I'm sharing that with you. Please consider helping us, and then find a cause close to your heart and put a similar amount of effort in. In this way, we can make the world we want to live in a little closer to reality. As a reminder, we are unofficially sponsored by Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, who do repairs and restorations. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us by sharing the podcast with your friends, and also with money, at patreon.com/used2sew. Thank you for listening to us here at Used to Sew. We always welcome your additions, corrections, and feedback in general. Please reach out to us via email at usedtosew@gmail.com. Used to Sew is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.